Hey guys, and welcome back to Agents Unchained, the show where I break down the basic fundamentals into playing an agent so that you don't become the first time on my Immo 3 promo match ever again. Today's episode
cannot be allowed to plant that spike. Or we can just kill them all.
So this video will be broken down into 4 sections, those being abilities, abilities usage, playstyle, and goals per round. These should be timestamped in the video's timeline below, although YouTube is a bit weird with it and sometimes just doesn't do it, so if not, then it is timestamped in the description as well. So quick disclaimer, when it comes to this series isn't aimed at teaching you the basics and fundamentals of the game of Valorant itself, but rather the agent, so that you don't go into playing an agent and thinking, wow, what do I do? How do these abilities work? How do I use this? And have to learn over many hours. This video is not aimed at teaching you how to play the game, but rather how to play an agent. That being said, let's get on to the abilities. So, as with every single agent, Jett has 4 basic abilities, those being Tailwind, Cloudburst, Updraft, and Bladestorm. So starting with Tailwind, it's an ability that takes a 1.5 seconds to activate, and once activated you have a 7.5 second window into using this ability in which you can dash in any direction you want. Other than that, all there really is to say is that you can use it mid-air, you get it free every single round since it is the signature ability, you get 1 charge of this per round, but if you get 2 kills after activating it, you do in fact refresh the ability so you get another use of it, meaning that every single round you have a maximum of 2 extra dashes, unless somebody gets revived of course, then you possibly have the chance of getting 3. Moving on to Cloudburst, this is Jett's C ability, and upon use of this ability, basically Jett throws out a small projectile. This projectile, once it hits a surface, explodes quickly and expands into a smoke, this smoke lasting for 2.5 seconds. You get 2 charges of this per round, and it costs 200 credits each. And the only other thing to note here with Cloudburst is that if you hold down the ability key that you have it bound to, you will in fact control the smoke so long as it's mid-air. The second it hits a surrounding surface, any surface that includes people, it will expand into the smoke. So you can control it mid-air, but once it hits the surface, it will become the smoke. Moving on to Jett's Q ability, this basically just lets Jett propel quickly upwards into the air. You get 1 charge of this per round, it's 150 credits each time, and yeah, that's as simple as it gets. And then Jett's ultimate, Bladestorm, which requires 8 ultimate orb points. This allows Jett to equip 5 floating kunai, in which each of them does 50 damage to the body, about 42 to the very outer edges of the body, so hands and legs, and does in fact 1-shot headshot with each kunai. Now, with Bladestorm, each time you get a kill, you do in fact refresh the amount of ammo you have for the kunai, so each time you get a kill with it, it does give you all 5 back, but this only applies to left clicking it, meaning when you throw the knives 1 by 1, if you get a kill with the 1 by 1 throwing of the kunai, then you will get a refresh. This doesn't apply to the other side of the Bladestorm, which is the right click, in which you throw all of the knives all at once. Now it's important to note with Bladestorm that the ability doesn't actually have weapon error or damage fall off. This meaning that the knives do not lose damage at any range that you throw them at. They will do the exact same amount of damage to where you throw at the person, no matter what the range is. And also on top of this, the knives do not have movement error, meaning when you run around, you can run and gun with them. You don't have to be stood still, you don't have to be on the ground to be able to throw these completely accurately. They have no weapon error, no damage fall off. And then finally, coincidentally enough, the 2 characters that I play the most both have passives, last time being Clove, this time being Jett. And like in the last one, I said passives are very limited when it comes to Valorant. Not very many agents have them, and in fact Clove and Jett are the only ones with actual true passives. So Jett today being Drift, and drift basically just allows Jett to slowly descend towards the ground whilst mid-air. If you hold your jump key, you will just slowly float down and glide towards the ground. Think of it like Mercy in Overwatch 2, if you've played Overwatch 2 or Overwatch, when it was Overwatch. But think of it as like Mercy, you just slowly glide towards the floor until you hit it so you don't take any fall damage. So unlike last week where it took a little bit longer to explain the abilities, it should be done by now. I think I've explained all the basics of Jett's abilities. They're pretty simple and it's not actually one individual ability that's difficult or has anything specific to use about them. It's rather using them all together. So each individual ability is pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but actually using them is a different story, which is why we lead on into ability usage. So, starting with Jett's signature ability, Tailwind, the way you want to use this ability on defense. Let's start with defense. The way you want to use this is that most of the time, you want to be peeking a angle first. Because Tailwind is a quick dash, although nowadays it is a lot more difficult to use because now you have to activate it into a timer and you only have that 7.5 second window in which you can dash, so you need to be precise with it. You need to be using the dash on peeking first. So because it's a quick dash, you have a safety net to escape if you are going to die, but also if there's too many people pushing you. So what a lot of Jett players do, and this isn't just limited to lower ranks or higher ranks, this is what Jett should be doing in general, is that on round 1, a lot of the time people like to buy Sheriff, and they go to one of the site's main areas where you would be pushed from, and usually it's not good to pop the dash instantly, especially on round 1 when you're just buying a Sheriff, because now you have no abilities. So a lot of the time, what people like to do, or what I like to do, what I do a lot on Jett obviously, is that you walk to an area peeking main where there's cover, and you take a first fight and a close angle. And when you take contact, that's when you pop the dash and have the dash ready, because that allows you to peek out, take a shot. I wouldn't take more than 1, or if you have a rifle, 2 shots, because then you will just get killed, and you can be killed mid-dash, so remember that, because if you dash too late, you will die mid-dash. It's similar to Chambers TP, where you can die mid-TP because of how they changed the netcode, so you can actually die mid-dash. So remember, you can only take about 1 to 2 shots, and then you need to dash out, but you want to peek and you want to then take some shots, try and get a kill. If you get a kill, that's amazing. If you don't, then you tried, nice try, at least you tried, and you get out and then you go back. So Jett really does do very well at peeking first, and this is a similar reason why Jett is very good with snipers. So you can do this with a Sheriff on round 1, but you also can do this when it comes to using other weapons like rifles, when it comes to using snipers. So Jett's very good with snipers, even though she's a duelist who's, dashing around, because of the fact that she has a dash. So she can take a random off angle with a sniper, especially in op. You'll see Jett's playing op a lot, and this is the reason, because Jett has a dash and you can take a random off angle, and then when they peek out, you can take a shot into their body very easy with the op, and then you just dash out, and it's a free kill instantly. You've got, instant 5v4, and depending on who you kill, it can change how the round plays. So if you insta-kill the smokes the second the round starts, they don't have smokes unless it's Clove with, their passive for the entire round now, and you've got such an advantage because you took that early peek. So with Jett on defense, the best way to use dash is to take early peeks. Now, this being said, don't keep peeking if you keep dying, because if you keep peeking and dying, that's just a disadvantage for your team. You shouldn't keep peeking over and over again and dying if it's not working. The main thing, this is more of like a fundamental to the game rather than an agent, but learning when something isn't working and adapting around it and stopping it and changing what you're doing is something more of a fundamental to the game, and you don't, like I said, I'm not trying to explain the fundamentals of the game in this series, but rather an agent. But it is important that with these plays that I explained throughout the series, you shouldn't keep doing them if they don't work. You're just throwing the match at that point. But these are supposed to be plays that you can do, that you have the option to do, and that are pretty optimal when it comes to playing the game. So that being said, outside of defense, the dash really doesn't have specific uses. The most important thing to learn with Jett, and I'll say it now, is that you use all your abilities together to create pressure and to get kills. Because Jett is a duelist. Jett is meant to be using her abilities to take duels and to fight. And because Jett's abilities outside of the ultimate aren't actual abilities that like impair the enemy's, sight with a blind, or, stun them, or, anything like that. It doesn't impair the enemy, it doesn't damage the enemy. All it does is, at best you block their sight for 2.5 seconds. You need to be using the abilities, the movement that Jett has, to be able to get kills. So outside of peeking first, if the enemies don't peek where you are and you still have your dash in the round, or you get a dash refresh, you want to be using this still to peek people and dash out when it's a good optimal time to, peek somebody, when it's a good fight to peek somebody, take a shot, try and get the headshot and dash out in case you miss. You have that safety net. Later on, I'll explain more about how to actually combine the abilities and put them together. I want to go through each individual ability first, and then talk about, in the playstyle part, when you use them together to do certain things. But like I said, you want to be using the dash just to retake, to take fights first, to just have that safety net. Using your own, knowledge of, or, your own common sense of a situation. When you're going to take a fight, if you have your dash, it's great to have your dash active, so then you have that safety net of dashing out this. Now when it comes to attack, it's quite the opposite to defense. So the Tailwind dash on attack basically is Jett's just main priority entry tool, and this means that obviously, like I said, Jett is a duelist, so duelists go in and take space first, especially Jett, because Jett is what would be like a hard entry duelist, because she has an ability, which is the Tailwind in fact, that she can take very fast aggressive space. So you know how Raze has satchels, she can double satchel in. Yoru has teleport, so you can flash CP in. Jett has a dash, and she can dash into a site and take space very aggressively. So Jett's Tailwind is in fact her primary entry tool, and you want to be using this to get into the site. Now I won't go into the advanced specific and very optimal ways to use the dash to entry. You can find a lot of videos from Jett players about that. I'll probably make one in the future, since I do have a lot of hours on Jett. I mean, I don't think any agent actually comes close, not even Clove. I have about 1,000 hours on Jett since the game released, because that was my main for the entire time until Clove. But that being said, I may make one in the future, but for now I won't go into specific entry areas. I may go into a few examples later, but Jett's dash is, the main takeaway is that you use this mostly to entry first and to take space very aggressively onto a site when it comes to attack. So as you'll see throughout the background gameplay of this video, I had background gameplay of Clove last time. It was quite old gameplay of Clove. That was when you could buy a Ghost, 2 smokes and a heal on round 1, and the ultimate was only 7. It was pre-nerfs. But in the background of this video, it's up-to-date Jett gameplay from the other week. You'll see in the video how I use the abilities as well, so you'll see that I'm dashing into a site or I'm taking a first peek. That being said, outside of the basics, I wouldn't say there's much to it than that with the Tailwind. And like I said, it's more about combining the abilities rather than using them in one single use, kind of like Clove, where you use the smokes, or you use the medal, or you use the heal. It's kind of all separate when it comes to Clove. But when it comes to Jett, it's all more so combined. So that being said, we're going to move on to Cloudburst, so Jett's C ability. Now, these are basically what I like to call flashbang smokes, because they only last 2.5 seconds, and you get 2 of them. So at most, you're going to be blocking off for 5 seconds at any area. Now, on defense, when it comes to Jett's other abilities, I wouldn't say there is a specific use on defense where you would use these. Again, it's not like Clove, where Clove is a controller and the abilities that Clove has is more about using them like, other than the heal, it's more about using them in specific ways. Jett doesn't have specific ways that she uses the Cloudburst, right? The general rule when it comes to Cloudburst in situations where it's not an entry is that you use them to just like either block you off if you dashed away, but it's not like you took an angle that's so wide that you dashed away, but it's not completely safe yet. So you instantly look down and just throw a smoke below you, and it instantly pops, and now you're blocked off, and you can't be killed as easily unless they luckily headshot you through the smoke. So like, other than using that, and then also using the smokes to make your own mini flashbang one-ways. So, I talked last time in the Clove video, and I will talk again over and over about one-ways when it comes to other controllers. Because Jett has a mini smoke, you can create one-ways yourself, especially because, like I said in the ability rundown, you can hold the ability key to control where the smoke's going to go. So, if you hold it and throw it up, you need to learn the height, obviously, of when it explodes so that you can get it right. But you can create your own mini one-ways for that 2.5 seconds when somebody's about to peek or push, or when you think that they're about to, try and do something to keep that angle and to maybe even get a free kill, Like I said, you can only at most hold it for 5 seconds if you have both the smokes. But that being said, you do have the option to make your own mini one-ways. So outside of them 2 things, there isn't specifics that you use the smokes on, defense for. I mean, you could even use the smokes like to smoke off a main area until your controller gets a smoke down on the area that you told them that they're pushing or that they're at. So like, outside of those 3, I can't give you specific ways to use the smokes on defense, because there just aren't any. Like, it's not an ability that has a specific use apart from the entries. Only the entries have a specific use, which, getting onto the entries, let's go into attack. So on attack, much like I said with Jett's Tailwind, you use the dash to dash into the site, but obviously if you dash into the site just completely open, 3 people are hiding in corners, they're just going to shoot you instantly and you're going to die. So how do we circumvent this? With a duelist that needs to take space, we use the Cloudburst smokes. So before you dash into the site, you want to choose an area that you're going to dash. You need to think about it before you go in. Don't just brainlessly dash in. You need to think about it before you go in. Think about where you're going to go, and before you go out dash out into the site and out of their smoke, you want to throw your own smoke to where you're going to dash. And then once, when you're good at it, you'll do it the perfect pixel moment that it explodes so that you have more of the time of the smoke to actually hide in. But you want to dash into the smoke when it becomes the smoke. Like when it's the projectile that's flying out, because they will see you dashing where you land and then they'll just shoot you through the smoke. But when the smoke expands, you want to dash into the smoke. This is how Jett gets hard entry and hard space, because now you're in the site, in the middle of the site on the side, and they can't see you. And you have another smoke as well, so that you have 5 seconds of just being completely in the smoke or in their sight, and they can't do anything about you. So Jett is very, very good at, pincering a site when it comes to entries because of this. So she dashes in, she's in her smoke, your team's walking out, and now they have to choose. Either they shoot your team and you kill them, or they shoot you and your team kills them. So it's basically this is how Jett creates so much pressure on a site. And like I said, I'm not going to go into specific areas to entry. There are very good ones, but when it comes to just basic entries, this is how you entry. You throw a smoke, you dash into the smoke, and then you either pop out the smoke and shoot somebody, or you smoke yourself again, create more pressure, or you just keep going and you clear the site. And you can clear the site from the other side of where your team's pushing, and this is how Jett entry. So outside of that smoke that you use to entry, if you still have another smoke, I mean, you can use the same ideas as I said on defense, or you can use it to like push out of their smoke. I wouldn't recommend it because this is overheating, we're going too far, we're going too much, but you can use it to like push out a smoke, quickly get a kill, and then maybe get out. You can use it to take a little bit more space. There's not an advanced. I mean, I didn't learn it for quite a while, but it is kind of advanced, but it's not that advanced, where you use a smoke and then you throw a smoke in front of your smoke, and you basically like you just like inch your way forward to get towards something. But outside of that, if you have another smoke, it's the same rules apply as defense. You just use them where you think you need them. But yeah, that's Jett entries on attack with the smoke, and you combine it with the dash. So then moving on to updraft, it's going to be really funny. It's going to be really ironic, really uncanny. But again, on defense, there is no specific use of updraft. The only thing I can think of that I could tell you about is that if there's like a box or a place that gives you a high up place that gives you a angle of attack, you can use updraft to get up to that, and then when the round starts and you hear them pushing, you have that angle, that off angle, because now you're really high up and they're not going to be like pre-aiming in the absolute heights of the clouds. They're not going to be pre-aiming your head level, so you have this random off angle that you can maybe get a kill or two and then dash out if you need, or fall off the box and walk back. But the thing about this is that most places where you can use updraft, you can also use her passive to get to, which I'll get onto later. So on Haven, on A site, there's two boxes. There's the one close to sewers, and then there's the one the really big one that has the off angle that I'm sure many of you have seen before. So you can use updraft to get up to there, but like I said, you can also use drift to get up to there, and I will show you how to do that in a bit. But for example, there are those boxes you could use updraft to get that off angle. The same rule applies to any other maps where you can't use drift to get to. You could use updraft. So then when it comes to attack, it gets pretty advanced with the entries when you start to use updraft, because these are more like very you gotta learn them first. You gotta practice them in practice tool, or not practice tool, that's league, training range, or custom game. You want to practice them because they become like a lot more advanced and a lot more difficult to do. And if you try doing it on your first match of Jett, you will probably mess them up. So that's why I'd say it's best to start simple with just a smoke dash. But once you start to learn Jett entries a lot better, there are updraft smoke dashes that you can do. So for example, on Ascent on A site, the gen, you can actually in their smoke walk up as close to the edge of the smoke without actually going out yet, throw a smoke onto gen, through the smoke. You gotta know where it is without actually seeing it, so it gets advanced. But you throw a smoke onto the gen, you updraft, and then you dash into that smoke, and now you're on a height off angle in the middle of their site without them being able to see you, and you have the option to walk out and shoot them like I said before, or hide in the smoke and create more pressure or whatever. So updraft on attack can be used with other abilities to entry, but like I said, it gets more advanced when you use the updrafts. But that's the only specific use I can think of the updrafts outside of using it with the ultimate, which again I'll get onto later. So like I said, it comes full circle, because it's all about using Jett's abilities together on attack, at least, less so on defense, but still on attack, using all of her abilities together to create a very good entry and to create space onto a site. a lot of duelists don't really understand their role, and I think a lot of duelists let their teammates who are tilted at them dictate how they play, because duelists aren't meant to just like dash onto a site brainlessly and die and stuff, and duelists also aren't meant to just, you know, get 20, 30, 40 kills. Sure, their kit is made for dueling, but the role of a duelist isn't kills, it's space, and I think a lot of duelists don't understand that, and it's something that's very, very, like, it's a big misconception when it comes to the roles in Valorant, that a lot of people say, this is the kill role, this is the kill role. There is no kill role in Valorant. I think most people don't understand that. There are agents that are very good at fighting, there's agents that are very good at taking space, there are agents with abilities that are made for dueling, sure, but there is no kill role on Valorant. There are only roles that support each other to getting a site or to defending a site or the map, you know, whatever. There is no kill role. Duelist is not a kill role, it is a space taking role. And the point of a duelist is to take space on the map. So, using all of Jett's abilities here, we combine them and we create entries, or we create, you know, first pick, first bloods, or we create map control. There's a lot of advanced things you can start to do, like with Clove, that you do with Jett. And like I said, I will save those for more of like a more advanced guide, because I don't want to like spend 3 hours in this video talking about advanced things as well as basics. This is just basics. So then we come to Jett's ultimate Bladestorm. Now, there are actual things I can specifically talk about when it comes to Bladestorm. So because Bladestorm one-shots in a headshot or does 50 damage to the body each knife, which is a 3-shot, so it's actually technically better than a rifle because it's a free ability at 8 points that allows you to 3-shot someone in the body or 1-shot them in the head infinitely, as long as you use the left, like, you know, the 1x1 throwing, and it also has no movement error, and it also has no damage follow, so it's technically better than a rifle. And I don't want Riot to hear this, but I've said since the game started, and I still say it now, the most broken ultimate in the game are Jett knives. Outside of maybe Neon Ult, but Neon Ult is worse than Jett knives for the pure reason that Neon Ult does not one-shot. It takes a lot of tags to hit, kill somebody with it, but with Bladestorm you can one-shot someone in the head. And I've said this for ages. Bladestorm is the most OP ability, OP ultimate in the game. Please Riot, don't nerf it again though, please. So, because it's technically better than a rifle, a lot of the time, holding Jett knives, it's not best to hold ultimates, right? Like I said in the last video, it's not best to hold abilities for ages and ages and ages. But holding Bladestorm for when you have an eco round is like a very good advantage, because if you are good with the knives, you'll be able to win eco rounds moderately easy, or you know, pretty easy if you get really, really good with them. Just because of the fact that they one-shot, and they one-shot in the head, they 3-shot in the body, and that's easy ways to out-kill a rifle, and easy way, especially because, you know, like I said, you have full running accuracy with the knives, and it has no fall-off. So you can pretty much just go around tapping heads, or, you know, killing people in the body, and you basically collect guns for your team on an eco round. It's like, when a Jett gets kills with a knife, like knives, when they're on eco and you're not only did you get a kill on a, you know, an opponent, you also shut down a certain role, and you also grabbed a gun for a teammate to pick up, so now you have knives and a rifle, and you have a numbers advantage. So knives on an eco round can actually win you just rounds for free, because if you're good with them, you will get pretty easy kills. That being said, it's not best to hold abilities for the entire match. Like I said last video, don't hold abilities for the entire match, because then it's a waste. So if you're on a rifle round, and say, you know, you're fighting somebody and you run out of ammo and you need to reload, when you get into the higher ranks especially, people will push you the second they hear the reload sound, because they know you're out of ammo. So now you can't do anything to them unless you switch to your pistol. Except Jett has knives, and they don't take ages to equip. It takes like about 0.7 seconds to equip or something, or maybe 1 second. It's about that time to equip. Like, you know, she pulls them out and she just has them. So, you know, maybe you're fighting someone and you run out of ammo and they're gonna push you because they hear you needing to go into the reload sound. Instead of risking the reload or whatever, you can just pop those knives and now you have 5 one-shot potentials, or, you know, a 3-shot body, or even if they're lower HP, that's the ideal situation, you know, that they're full HP for them. That's their ideal situation. Maybe you've hit them for 100 and they're one knife away from dying in the body. You know, that type of thing. And then you also have the right click where you throw them all at once. It's very inconsistent, it's hard to use, but you throw them all at once as if it was like a shotgun, so you can just like quickly kill them in one throw. Knives are very good at getting you out of bad situations as well as winning you eco rounds. It really depends on what comes first, really. So like, if you need to win that clutch situation, using the knives is obviously very good, and if that's the first thing that happens, then use it to do that. But if you've not had a situation where you've had to pop those knives and had to use them, you can in fact use them on an eco round, and you can use it to try and win an eco round because knives are very good. That being said, there is also a situation where maybe your whole team can buy besides one person, and you have the money to buy a gun, but you also have your ultimate. You can also just buy your teammate the gun. This is very altruistic. You can buy your teammate a gun, and then you can pop your knives, you know, because knives are as good, if not better, than a rifle. And now your full team also has rifles, so you have a full buy round besides you, but you technically have a full buy because you have knives. So it's also, you can use it like that. So outside of those specific round usage, the way to use knives is that, again, I've been hammering on about how Jett uses all her abilities together to do stuff like entering and taking peeks and stuff like that. So when it comes to the knives, this is very integral because the knives, as I've also been hammering on, don't have movement error and they don't have damage fall off. So you can use updraft, be in the air, and use drift to float, and now you have, like, you know, you're floating mid-air like an AC-130 from COD with knives that 1-shot or 3-shot in the body that refresh each time. There is a meme about Jett being an AC-130 because she could just fly up in the air, have full accuracy with knives, and just start killing people. Like, that's what the meme is. She's an AC-130 deployed above. That being said, you can also use dash to quickly dash forward somewhere to get towards somebody, and then, like, you know, you can updraft dash and then float across and shoot, like, throw the knives at them whilst floating across. You know, you can just pop out a smoke and right click them or something. Like, you know, the knives are very much like the best thing to use with all the abilities, and I think the ultimate is where the abilities all come together, especially, and are very much like designed around. Like, sure, Jett is very mobile, very agile, has a lot like of stuff she can do and things that she can combine to do without the ultimate, but the ultimate is where it really comes all together, because now you have your gun whilst doing all of what you were doing before. So that being said, I'm going to combine drift in here and just say that using drift with the knives is very good because you can be an AC-130, and then also, like I was mentioning earlier, you use drift to basically just float across to certain places that you could use updraft to get to, but, you know, you're wasting updraft to get to it if you don't need to use it. So for example, on Haven here, like I was saying earlier, there's the 2 boxes that you could use updraft to get to, but actually, if you can do it from Heaven, you can do it from this little box in the corner. If you drift across to the main thing in the middle of A site, and then go on top, and then drift across the boxes, you're now up there without having to use updraft. I think that's why a lot of people also, you know, related to the ultimate and you being able to be an AC-130 and fly around and one-shot people, People were saying how Drift is OP a lot at one point, and how it was just so broken because Jett was the only one with a passive, and it also let her not take fall damage, get to places for free, and also kill people mid-air. This is a reason why people say Drift is also OP, is because you can get to random off-angle, random boxes that other people can't get to. Or a lot of other people can't get to without spending abilities, and you can do it for free. It's like Omen has to teleport up there. You know, Yoru has to do really funny tech with every ability to get up there. You know, who else is there? Like, Reyna needs a dismiss to actually get up there. Riz has to use satchels to get up there. So, like, other agents have to spend abilities, which is credits, to get up to these boxes. But Jett can just do it completely free. So she does not need to use abilities to get up there. So keep this in mind with Drift. There are places you can get to with Updraft, but you can do it for free if you learn how to do it with the other, with Drift. So like I said, outside of that, the only use I'd say with Drift is using it with Ultimate to fly and be an AC 130 and to prevent yourself from taking fall damage. This is an infinite ability she gets throughout every single round. It's always active, so don't be afraid to use it if you need to. It's not like if you use it once it goes away. You have it the whole round, every match, as long as you're playing Jett. It is a permanent ability, it's a passive, it's permanent, you don't lose it if you use it once, it's infinite. So that should be the basics of Jett when it comes to ability usage. As far as I can think of right now, I don't want to go into the advanced things obviously, so I think that's the basics of how you play Jett and the things you can pick up first. So moving on to the playstyle. So Jett's playstyle, as I've mentioned before, is very, very aggressive. It's like Clove, like last week, but it's more like you're a lot more aggressive because you're a duelist. So when you're entering, you want to be the first one on site. So like, if you remember, if you watched the Clove one, I was saying how Clove should be, you know, second or third on site after the duelist. So now this is where we come to the duelist, where the duelist, you know, you're playing Jett, you are that first one on site, especially because you are the hard entry duelist, you are the first one entering onto the site. So making sure you learn how to entry and use those abilities together is very integral. So yeah, Jett is that first one on the site. You aren't the support this time, you are the main one going into site and taking the space and taking the fights. Same thing applies to defense. You know, you're taking the fights early, you're trying to get early picks. Jett is aggressive, hyper aggressive, like Clove, but in a different way. Jett really wants to take first peaks and she needs the support of her team to be able to do that. Another thing that people don't really understand and people have misconceptions about is that duelists are meant to do like everything. The duelists aren't carrying the whole team on their back. That's not the point of duelists. In fact, if you play duelist, you need a lot more support from your team. That includes the initiator and the smokes, because you need the smokes to be down like at the time you go in, because it blocks off the site so that you don't get killed from every single angle when you entry. But also you need the initiator to gather info and to throw those blinds and mollies and whatever to keep, like, get people moving and pressured so that the duelists can start clearing the site. Duelists do take a lot of coordination, and later on when I get into an initiator, initiators also need a lot of coordination, because these two roles, duelist and initiator, they're the ones that work the most together, and they need the most communication together, which is why it's very hard in solo queue to be like very good at duelist or initiator, because you need to combine both of those roles together, and a lot of people won't even use comms, a lot of people won't understand their role first time, whatever. So people like fail a lot at doing this, but the main like very important thing to keep in mind is that your initiator is like your best friend when you play duelist. You need to work with them so that you can go into a site and be the first one on there, create pressure, create space, take kills if you can, and get your team into that site and pushing and get that spike down. And like I said, on defense, Jett is meant to take first peeks. You know, well, I don't know if they initially designed Jett to be like that, but Jett is very much designed around taking a first peek and getting out, trying to get a first blood. You want to get a first blood and get out. And if you don't, you know, it's fine, so you don't have to. But if you did, it's an advantage, obviously. Numbers advantage, roll advantage, whatever. That's also the goal of Jett each round. You want to take first entry and you want to take first picks. Initiator is also your best friend on defense because you can combine flashes and the utility of initiators to quickly like dash in their face and take kills whilst they're fully blinded. KO is very good with Jett, in fact. I think when I think about it, I think the best initiator that you pair with Jett is KO because he has the really long range, you know, CS type flashes where he can just stand really far back with a lineup. He throws his flash. Obviously, best case scenario, your KO has a lineup, but and a lot of people in lower ranks will have lineups, obviously. But the point is that Jett's best initiator pair is KO because KO can throw these lineup flashes that pixel or flash areas. It's like on Ascent, there's a very common push sometimes when you want to, you know, do it once or twice, where KO throws a flash that pixel pops at tiles, and the Jett dashes up fast towards tiles, and it flashes everybody in tiles. But then you know, your Jett is there, ready to get those kills. So Jett is very good at taking very aggressive space out of nowhere if you pair it with utility, but also taking first peeks, first bloods, first kills, and first entries. Jett is very much about being the first one to do stuff. Like you want to be the playmaker pretty much. You know, that's why you see a lot of like, I suppose in VCT or in higher ranks, a lot of the time you see these like people playing Duelist and they're doing all these crazy clips. Duelist is the playmaking role and is the role that people think is about killing, but is just like has abilities to get kills, but is about being first in sight and first doing everything. You are the playmaker. You know, Clove isn't the playmaker as much. You can make plays on Clove, but Clove isn't the one who's playmaking every single round first. That's the Duelist, that's Jett. Jett is a playmaker, so that being said, I see my video timer is at 50 minutes, which is, I think it won't cut down too much. I don't think I have many gaps to cut out, so this might end up being longer than the Clove video, which is ironic because I was talking about how smokes have so much more nuance. But anyway, so that being said, that should be the absolute basics of Jett to get you into playing Jett if you're interested, or to teach you like a little thing or two if you are new to Jett, or if you needed to learn something. Hopefully it helps. I tried to think of the most basic things without going too far in depth so that it would confuse people. I don't want to confuse anybody who's trying to pick up Jett or is new or whatever. This is just the basics. I'm not claiming this will, you know, get you to Radiant, but it should at least rank you up a bit and help you win matches, because now you know, after watching the video, and after subbing, and after liking, you know that, you know, Jett uses all these abilities together. You can float around with knives, you know, you can smoke dash, you can updraft smoke dash, you know all these things because you watched the video. So now you can do some entries, go play some Jett, practice. She's quite difficult to learn fully because it's very, like, there's a lot of things you can do, and she doesn't have abilities like flashes or stuns like other duelists. So she is kind of difficult to learn, but she is popular, or possibly I think she is the most popular duelist outside of maybe Reyna. I think Reyna is probably like second. I think she was first at some point, but she might be second. But yeah, there's a reason why Jett is the most popular duelist. There's a reason why I played Jett for 1,000 hours. She's very, very fun and good to play when you learn her. And she's very, very good. She's usually always meta. Riot have been nerfing her for the last few years constantly because she is always meta, always somehow the best duelist in the game. So yeah, that being said, Make sure to drop a like, drop a sub. I appreciate all the support on the last Clove one. I'm trying to get this one out as fast as I can, and the next one should hopefully come out soon. I think it's going to be on a Sentinel, possibly, next one. I won't say who, but it should be a Sentinel. So yeah, the next one is probably going to be on a Sentinel, and then it'll be on an Initiator, and then we'll go back to Controller. So, that being said, until next time, thank you for watching, hope it helped, and I'll catch you in the next one. PS, if you want to go watch my Twitch streams, which are live every Thursday to Sunday at 2 PM UK time, the link is in the description, and I usually stream comp. I'll probably next week be streaming the monkey game Wukong, so go check that out. I also stream Tekken 8 on occasion as well, but yeah, there's that if you want to.